evening and welcome to the news. As usual, the Wednesday Bulletin offers an hour and a half of stories treated with the third eye on details affecting Nigeria and Nigerians. We'll also give you updates on unfolding events and new perspectives on trending issues. Tonight, Senate passes bill on the control of arms as part of efforts to tackle insecurity. Just as the House of Representatives proposes summit to tackle food security in the country. On infrastructure development, Lagos on track with its Red Line rail service. It's a locomotive with a motive to work with swagger. And in the South, a permanent neighbor is back in the building. Water and flood and efforts to paddle out of this perennial challenge. We have our regular packages in education, the environment, agriculture, and some sharing news from the health sector. We won't forget business, as Musa Abubakar will always have us know all the numbers that add up and some that do not. It's an eclectic ensemble, but don't take my word for it. After all, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Ienre, and this is News Extra. Welcome. President Bola Tinubu is once again reassuring Nigerians that the country will come out of the current foundational challenge stronger and more prosperous. He said this when he visited members of Afenifere, a pan-Yoruba group in Akure, Ondo State capital. State House correspondent Musbal Dan Wahab reports.
Once more, President Bola Tinubu returns to the midst of his socio-political group, Afenifere. The presidential toga notwithstanding, here is due respect to one of the foremost leaders of the pan-Yoruba group, Pa Reuben Fashoroti. Apparently, an appreciation of the support he got from the group before and during the 2023 presidential election. And now, he has returned with his prize as the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria.
We want each of the geopolitical zones to have greater responsibility for security, food production, and infrastructural development. Since the removal of fuel subsidy, which was costing Nigeria some $10 billion a year, the state governments have been receiving hefty allocations from the Federation account. Mr. President, to persuade the governors to allow this change of fortune for the states to reflect at the grassroots.
Afenifere identifies with this success. So, with one of them at the helms of affairs, the group is pressing for constitutional and other reforms that would guarantee a more secure and prosperous future for the country. With display of full understanding of the current situation in Nigeria, President Tinubu likened the situation to his initial experience as the then Lagos State governor, which he said has now transformed the state to the leading economy amongst the Nigerian states. And in his renewed hope message, the president assures that with a little more perseverance by Nigerians and bold transformative decisions, Nigeria is on its way to becoming a self-sufficient nation.
We are going to turn in twists and bends, and we are going to straighten the road for prosperity and hope of Nigeria. We go back to the farm, grow what we eat, yes, feed ourselves. Don't depend on other and
On the clamor for true federalism, President Tinubu says the process is in the works.
Nigeria will survive. Nigeria is a bright light at the end of the story. I asked for the job. I'm not complaining. I campaigned for it. I danced for it. I prayed for it. So I got it. I take the responsibility.
The president is now in Lagos on a working visit. From Lagos, Musbao Nanwahab, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has paid a condolence visit to the family of the late Ondo State Governor, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. The president, in company of the state governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, his deputy, and the former APC national chairman, Bisi Akonde, was in Owo, the hometown of the former governor, where he visited the widow, children, and some other relatives of the deceased. President Tinubu comforted Mrs. Betty Ayanwu Akeredolu and urged her to remain strong, having solace in the legacy of her late husband. Earlier, the president visited Olowo of Owo, Oba Ajibade Ogunoye, where he was received by members of the Ondo State Council of Traditional Rulers. Olowo of Owo thanked the president for his visit and promised the support of the traditional rulers for his administration. In other news, the federal government has inaugurated the newly constituted board of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria with a call on the members to introduce innovations in its operations. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that the Vice President Kashim Shettima tasked the members to work as a team to bring fresh perspectives to the operations of the commission. He urged the new management to improve on the Hajj savings scheme to boost the number of pilgrims participating in the exercise across the country. Vice President Shettima challenged the board to engage agents to foster a long-term relationship that will make significant capital investment in operations. Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the new board, Malam Jalal Arabi, commended President Tinubu and the Vice President Shettima for finding him worthy to pilot the affairs of the NACON board. Now, Nigerians should desist from condemning and working against the sovereignty of the country, but rather be more patriotic by supporting developmental security agencies with intelligence reports to enhance proactive operations. These were the words of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, at the Defense Correspondents Association of Nigeria seminar in Abuja. Olajide Bello reports that the seminar is focusing on civil-military relations, non-kinetic efforts of the Nigerian military and security management, challenges and prospects.
Meet Kikeloma Okere with experience on the defense beat spanning 15 years. She described the terrain as sensitive and challenging, saying this seminar couldn't have come at a better time.
There are ways and manners we have to go about the report so that it will not increase the tension that is already going on in the country.
The Chief of Defense Staff says, though the overall power potential of the country is still being determined by conventional military artists, there is no doubt that the non-kinetic means are becoming more relevant in the power potentials of Nigeria.
I must encourage and implore us all that we must endeavor to continue to remain loyal to constitutional authorities and be patriotic to our great nation. We must learn how to be positive about our country. That's the only way we can produce.
So it is not only the media, the government and the officers have a role to play in ensuring that when they are begging an organization, their interests are also taken into consideration.
For the man at the helm of affairs of DCAN and NTA's defense correspondent, Ismail Musa, capacity building is key for effective reportage.
We are patriotic gentlemen of the pen profession who are willing to promote and project the national security through effective reportage of military security operations and its activities to complement the courageous efforts of men and women of the Nigerian Armed Forces.
A veteran defense correspondent and Director General of Voice of Nigeria, Jibrin Baban Dache, speaks on the military-media relations in the age of durable disorder.
We all need each other. The military needs the media needs the military. And we are all working for the same purpose, which is national security, national prosperity. So we need to continue to close the gap.
This is a convergence of executives and members of the Defense Correspondents Association of Nigeria with a view to charting a new course and more objectivity in their reportage. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
And still on security matters, but heading to the National Assembly now in recognition of the need to tackle the challenge of insecurity. Senate has passed the bill that seeks to control the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali feeds us.
Small arms and light weapons in Nigeria and for later matters 2024.
The Arms Control Bill is for concurrence from the House of Representatives. Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele highlights merits of the bill before its passage.
Seeks to provide for the establishment of a center to coordinate and implement activities to combat the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in our country, in line with the United Nations, the African Union, and the ECOWAS Convention.
We are all aware of the avalanche of small arms and light weapons that is spread across the nooks and crannies of this country that has given non-state actors access to these small arms and light weapons and terrorizing our communities in form of Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping, and what have you.
It is assuming even a greater urgency now that we have so much security problems, especially in the Northwest. So I think this is something that should be supported.
Bill to establish David Umahi University of Health, sponsored by Senate Deputy Majority Whip Webongi Onyeka, also passed second reading.
For the purposes of training medical doctors, nurses, and other allied medical professionals.
A bill from Senator Tony Nwoye seeking the inclusion of Anambra State as a member state of the Niger Delta Development Commission could not win the support of lawmakers.
Anambra State has been recognized or gazetted as NDDC, as one of the NDDC states, having been contributing to foundation accounts vis-a-vis the oil companies in Anambra State,
doesn't align with the history behind the establishment of the NDDC.
Those who are in support of the argument that this bill be now read a second time to go for second reading, say aye. Those against say nay. The next have it.
Senate has resolved to invite the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory and the Commissioner of Police following a motion from Senator Ned Nwoko over the kidnap of his senior legislative aide and others. Senate has approved the removal of Babatunde Irukara as the Chief Executive of Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission as requested by President Tinubu, which is in line with the provisions of the Act. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And in the Green Chamber, members are proposing a National Food Security and Nutrition Summit to address food challenges facing the country. Adopting a motion of urgent national importance by Representative Chike John Okafor, the House advocates that security be beefed up in agrarian communities, as well as more support for smallholder farmers to enhance food production. The National Assembly correspondent Mutare Ikman reports on deliberations at Wednesday's plenary.
The effect that pockets of security challenges is having on food security and food inflation generated debate in the Green Chambers. Lawmakers argued that long and short-term solutions are urgently needed to guarantee food security in the country.
The major farming communities in Oka North, Obofemili, Ubene, Urum, and Amanuke have been under siege for some time now.
The government needs to increase the resources to support smallholder farmers and agrarian communities, ensuring that they have the necessary inputs.
Provide this. Dry season farming. Where are they going to farm? In as much as there is still insecurity in the land,
farmers cannot go to their farms.
Niger State is sitting on a landmass that is almost 10% of the total landmass of the country. And I can assure you that more than 50% of the landmass is secured and arable for agriculture.
The road between the farm and the market is so bad. So beyond insecurity, there is that need for infrastructure to connect the markets to the farm.
The frequent collapse of the national grid was another major concern. The House mandated its Committee on Power to urgently investigate and proffer solutions to what it calls an embarrassing situation.
The House is also worried that frequent grid collapses this year have negatively impacted the economy, reducing industrial output.
The CBN's cancellation of $2.4 billion forward contract deals was also deliberated.
Cancellation of forward contract is coming at a time of worsening national economic challenges such as galloping inflation, unemployment, increased poverty level, and hardship.
Adopting other motions, the House mandated its Committee on Finance to investigate alleged non-remittance of tax revenues amounting to $342 million and 1.8 trillion naira by Multi-Choice Group to the nation's coffers. The House Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream was also asked to take over the investigation of circumstances surrounding the acquisition of OVH Energy by NNPC Limited. From the National Assembly, Ienre Ikben, NTA News.
There is this institution viewed as the thread that binds the country. As it is often said that peace is key to development, so this institution holds the key to national development as it carries out the role of maintaining peaceful coexistence in localities. Are you thinking the traditional institution? Oh yes, it is a traditional institution. Now, at the inauguration of the House Committee for the Review of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Royal Fathers are re-echoing the reinstatement of the statutory roles and the Constitution to empower them to equitably discharge their duties. Chimdima Ndubisi will tell us more.
The traditional rulers from pre-colonial era have been in charge of managing security, peace and development processes in their localities. Till present day, they still carry out most of these roles, acting as the link in relating government policies and programs to the grassroots, where they have respect and trust of the people as custodians of cultures, values, norms and tradition. But their statutory roles enshrined in previous constitutions were removed from the 1979 Constitution. Since then, they have been advocating a review, an attempt to have these statutory roles reinstituted at the 9th National Assembly's amendment of the 1999 Constitution could not scale through. So, as the 10th House of Representatives sets out to review the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Royal Fathers are back with same demand.
Our role, our position will be expunged from the concurrent into residual. So we want this duties now or legal instrument to come back to concurrent the schedule of the Constitution, so that will be part and parcel of the governance in terms of policy making decisions.
The Interface Committee Chairman on Constitution Review between traditional rulers and the National Assembly says no relenting until the job is done.
All our demands are in our letter, and we want them to actually pay attention to it, because that traditional rulers have a lot to do in terms of security gathering, information gathering, and holding the tempo of a domain peacefully, so that there will be development, government infrastructure, that everything will be intact, there will be a sense of economic growth. So they need our partnership.
Speaker of the House of Representatives promised that the committee will attend to all concerns.
The task before the Constitution Review Committee is profound. The House agenda is ambitious in its scope and encompasses wide-ranging issues pivotal to our national growth. Among these are the devolution of powers, including state policing, recognizing and assigning constitutional roles for traditional institutions.
The committee has a 2-year timeline to complete its task. In Abuja, Chimdima Ndubisi, NTA News.
Let's now turn our attention to health. Reforms in the health sector under the Renewed Hope mantra are being carefully designed to transform and harness Nigeria's health potential into a productive sector beyond being a consuming one. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, says this at the third edition of the ministerial press briefing, and also reaffirmed the adoption of a tactical approach to deal with outbreak of diseases and guarantee the desired health care in Nigeria. Salihu Gwanara brings us details.
Globally, human migration has exposed some nations to the syndrome of brain drain, particularly in the health sector. Even though Nigeria is not an exception from this global trend, the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare re-emphasized that deliberate policies are being initiated for renewal of health infrastructure that will add value and unlock health care value chain.
Over the last several months, 2,497 doctors, nurses and midwives have been recruited in our primary healthcare centers to fill gaps and to help in delivering services. And hundreds of thousands of Nigerians have been enrolled in the health insurance program through the National Health Insurance Scheme and the Vulnerable Groups Fund.
The ministry, he added, is mobilizing vaccine to mitigate outbreaks and enhance social engagement.
The National Consultative Forum on Health and Human Capital is also provided for by law, but until this administration, that has not happened. So we are organizing to have a consultative forum of all our traditional leaders, religious leaders from all parts of the country to engage them on this reform.
The host, Minister of Information and National Orientation, reaffirmed some reforms towards nation building with reference to the resolutions of the Federal Executive Council meeting held earlier in the week.
Government wants to reduce costs, also improve efficiency in service delivery. Now, this does not necessarily mean that government is out to retrench or to throw people out of the labor market. That is not the original intention. The intention is that efficiency has to be brought in because some of these parastatals are actually having some overlaps in the way they do their operation.
This is a platform for ministries' stewardship to be assessed and project their policies for nation building. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
Let's pause here. More to come after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. ECOWAS is encouraging citizens and groups within the SAB region to take advantage of the vast regional market to boost economic growth. President of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Aliyu Omar Toure, at a briefing in Abuja, said the limitations to free movement are being tackled by the Commission. Kelvin Evonoye reports.
There are over 3,000 companies currently doing produce business within the ECOWAS sub-region. But this is just a tip of the iceberg in terms of the potential available in the regional market for citizens of the community, because the ECOWAS president believes that regional trade, which currently stands at 12%, can further integrate member states. He emphasized that the interventions in clearing impediments to free trade and the West African Power Pool are designed to boost economic growth.
To support member states in their efforts to respond to food crisis, ECOWAS has established since 2016 a regional food security reserve. The reserve is fully operational with 17 interventions between 2016 and 2023 in 6 member states of the region, namely Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, Ghana, Mali, Niger, and Nigeria.
He also spoke on ECOWAS support for democracy, noting that every country electoral body received $1 million in grants because a stable political climate is vital for the realization of ECOWAS objectives, especially its trade stabilization scheme. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonoye, NTA News.
Since ECOWAS announced the lifting of sanctions on Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali, members of border and business communities are anxious for the borders to be reopened. Correspondent Usman Abdullahi Shehu was at Kamba in Kebbi State, which shares boundaries with Niger Republic.
It has been 7 months since ECOWAS sanctioned Niger Republic, Burkina Faso and Mali member nations, where the military seized power after several years of democratic rule. This decision was to call the junta leaders to order to return democracy back to the countries.
It has really affected our business from all angles. No supply of goods, no patronage.
It has affected us to the extent that even 2 square meals is impossible in most households. Some of us that usually do 3 to 4 business trips in Niger every week, it is hardly we can do a single trip now.
They recall with nostalgia how the sanctions did not only cripple economic activities in the area, but also affected their social lives.
I have relatives out there. To reach them now is a serious challenge.
When NTA News visited Kamba border post, the gate was still closed, as the Nigerian Customs and Immigration Services remain steadfast to ensure compliance of the previous ECOWAS directive.
When we met with the officials of the Nigerian Customs Service, they informed us that they had the news of lifting of sanction by the ECOWAS, but an official statement is yet to reach them. Thus, they are waiting for an official statement for them to reopen the border. From Kamba, Usman Abdullahi Shehu, NTA News.
Many thanks, Usman. And to talk more on the new order by ECOWAS, we have Paul Ejime, an international affairs analyst, joining us now for News Extra. Many thanks, Paul, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. ECOWAS says it is seeking to boost trade among member states. Now, this is not a new idea, I'm sure you know, but what are the problems inhibiting this drive?
What have been I didn't quite get that.
All right. ECOWAS is actually seeking to boost trade among member states. What are the problems inhibiting, the drive by ECOWAS?
Well, of course, there are human factors because you come out with some of these protocols, implementation becomes the devil in the detail, but also the political will of the ECOWAS leaders. I think it's not enough to sign on to certain things and then just will not do the necessary things to make it happen. I think there is this disconnect between or gap between policy decisions and then their implementation. You notice that officials that are supposed to, authorities that are supposed to take action on some of this, for instance, on that of True Movement, you've noticed that some of them either deliberately do not want to comply, or there is information gap and there is no follow-up decisions. You can't have free movement when there are too many checkpoints on the road. You go check all the countries between Nigeria and Benin, Togo, Ghana, and so on and so forth. So it is the political will, and then the fact that the countries should own up to this. It's not only ECOWAS that can do that. Countries, when you sign up to certain obligations, you have to domesticate it and take the action within your country, and then to make it happen. Then you talk about, harmonization. These are some of the
true,
issues,
Paul
Ejime.
Despite these challenges that you have mentioned, ECOWAS also says to sustain its $1 million support to the electoral bodies in member states to strengthen democratic practices. Now, this is coming in the wake of the struggle to entrench democracy in the region and the withdrawal of 3 member states. How should the regional body navigate this unprecedented event? Paul Ejime, did you get my question? All right, looks like we'll leave the conversation at that point. Many thanks, Paul Ejime, for joining us on News Extra. All right, I hear that Paul Ejime can hear me loud and clear now. Paul, are you with me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I was saying that despite the challenges that you have mentioned, ECOWAS is also talking about sustaining a $1 million support to the electoral bodies in member states to strengthen democratic practices. And that's, of course, in the wake of the struggle to entrench democracy in the region and the withdrawal of 3 member states. How should the regional body navigate these unprecedented events?
Well, on democracy, there is the feeling that democracy is on the decline, not just in West Africa, but across the world, the globe. In fact, no region of the world has been spared, not even America, that is that prides itself as the mother of democracy. But the difference is that institutions in some of these countries are very strong, that they resist whatever anti-democratic forces that are around. There has also been the argument whether democracy is actually good for Africa, whether it respects the culture and history of Africa. But for me, it is not really about the nomenclature, about the name of governance model. It is about delivering the benefits of governance. That is having food on the table, providing infrastructure, providing health, schools, education, and then making sure that there is human rights and that equality of opportunity. These are what governance is all about. I don't want to hear that it is democracy that has failed or that the people, but in Africa and West Africa in particular, it is the leaders, the politicians, the practitioners that have failed the system and then the people.
Many thanks, Paul. You have indeed hit the nail on the head with that point of yours. Many thanks for joining us on News Extra tonight.
Regime.
All right, so let's move away from the regional block now and talk education. There is current news for the teeming Nigerian youths who either dropped out of school or finished halfway with nothing to fall back on. This is coming from the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamin, who visited Innovate Hub, Skill Acquisition Center in Abuja that closely works with the Tertiary Education Fund, TED Fund, connecting researchers in tertiary institutions in the country and training youths in various skills acquisition programs. Abdullahi Musa Suleja reports.
No longer news that institutions of learning have been churning out students in the labor market that is readily available. Since the discovery of the anomaly, the federal government has been making an effort to ensure that the country is launched into industrial status where people, especially youth, make good use of their hands rather than what they have studied. Subsequently, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund has been championing and promoting research and development in collaboration with Innovate Hub, a gigantic skill acquisition center that trains the youth in different programs to acquire skills to prepare them for the world of work.
What I have seen here is a place that can give hope to the young ones out there who have the ideas, who have the disposition to acquire basic skills that they need to move on and have a decent livelihood, to provide the knowledge incubation to take Nigeria to the level that we wish.
The minister confirmed that before the end of the year, government will provide 24 skills acquisition and innovation hubs in the country as part of government's effort to create ways of diversifying the economy and promote science and technology. Abdullahi Musa Sleja, NTA News.
Let's move away from education now. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, says the federal government will continue to evolve more strategic intervention and mitigation to minimize hazards of disasters across the country. Senator George Akume stated this when he commissioned the Geospatial Center of NEMA at its headquarters in Abuja. Ilyasu Yakubu reports.
Geographic Information System (GIS) is a technology that is being used in all phases of disaster management, such as preparedness, mitigation, response, recovery, and rehabilitation. The NEMA Geospatial Center is established to collect, store, analyze, and display geo-reference disaster data within the country to aid efficient decision-making in planning, search and rescue, response, recovery, and rehabilitation, as well as disseminate search for humanitarian interventions. The SGF is confident that with the establishment of NEMA Geospatial Center, information relating to disaster will always be readily available for prompt response and mitigation.
This underscores the federal government's total commitment to disaster management, aiming at providing essential support to affected citizens.
This center is critical to learning and research for planning, prevention, preparedness and response to disasters. It will enable rebuilding back better in the aftermath of disasters.
The establishment of the GIS Center heralds a new era of resilience, innovation, and proactive disaster management.
With the GIS Center to be commissioned today, I believe it will go a long way to enhance NEMA's capabilities.
The beauty with geographical information systems, it can make complex issues simpler.
The NEMA Geospatial Center was established in collaboration with National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDA, Nigeria Meteorological Agency, NIMET, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA, and Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation, among other agencies. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
We head to Borno State now, and one of the sectors was hit by more than a decade-long Boko Haram insurgency, with its attendant consequences in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Borno State in particular is education, owing to the huge displacements of families, most of them forced to be in various camps across the state. Coordinated efforts by the government and other key stakeholders have resulted in the emergence of special schools to cater for the educational needs of especially female children. Zainab Adam takes a look at Girl Child Concern, GCC, one out of the many schools in Maiduguri with about 500 students pursuing a future.
My name is Amina Alhaji Haruna from Gala local government area.
Zara Hassan Bainem from Kuka local government.
My name is Sarah Yakubu. I come from Pilka local government.
They are from different parental, ethnic and local government areas confined in this school with a common goal to acquire education and pursue a respective career of their choice. They are all products of the deadly insurgency the northeastern part of Nigeria, Borno State in particular, suffered, which forced them to become internally displaced against their wish. Mindful of the consequences of not being educated, especially among the female folk, made the government and other stakeholders to rise up to the challenge by initiating the idea of coming up with a school to mainly cater for the girl child from the various IDP camps across Borno State.
In Teachers Blessed IDP camp, we don't have the opportunity to learn in a very clean environment and some items for learning, and now we have everything in our schools. If I finish my school, I want to be a journalist by the grace of God.
Before I came to this school, I don't know the importance of education, but now I learned so many things about education.
We started with 100 girls who started in 4 years ago, and now most of them are in senior secondary school. This is our highest class. The school has 7 classes. The first is the foundation, and then we have JS 1 to 3 and SS 1 to 3.
Hawa Musa Goma, the coordinator of the school, shared with the NTA what they are doing differently as a female school.
Our major problem now is that we need a laboratory well equipped for accreditation.
To instill in the students sense of environmental preservation, they are grouped according to the number of economic trees planted within the premises, with each group collectively looking after each of the trees.
We will try, inshallah. Our mango, next year, inshallah, we will pick it and we eat.
If the enthusiasm observed in each of the students is anything to go by, it will only be a matter of time for them to become worthy ambassadors of not just their respective families or local government, but Borno State at large. In Maiduguri, Zainab Adam, NTA News.
Many thanks, Zainab, for the spotlight. Indeed, educate the girl child and the nation will be better for it. Moving on now, the broad national agenda of strengthening the agricultural sector has received a major boost with the flag of Renewed Hope Initiative Women Agricultural Support Program, WASP, for the Southeast in Owerri, Imo State Capital. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, at the ceremony says by empowering women in the sector, the intervention is expected to fast-track overall development of the region. State House correspondent Adeni Taiwo reports.
The First Lady of the Federal
This is her third visit to Imo State since becoming Nigeria's First Lady, and for each visit, vulnerable women in the state have better tales to tell. The objective is similar, but the stake is higher this time around, as her pet project, Renewed Hope Initiative, targets 100 women farmers from across the 5 southeast states for empowerment under the Women Agricultural Support Program, WASP.
Today, a draft of 10 million naira per state in the southeast zone will be given to the First Ladies and RHI state coordinators of Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu and Imo for onward disbursement to beneficiaries in their respective states.
Presenting a check of 10 million naira each to wives of governors from the states, the First Lady called on beneficiaries to work hard and inspire other women to embrace agriculture towards fast-tracking the overall development of the region.
This dual approach of the Renewed Hope Initiative and the National Agricultural Land Development Authority, NALDA, demonstrates a comprehensive strategy to address the various challenges faced by women farmers. I want to implore our women farmers receiving support today to seize this opportunity to expand their agricultural scope, contribute to local and national food production, and serve as role models for others aspiring to enter the agricultural sector.
The initiative, in partnership with the National Agricultural Land Development Agency, NALDA, is also supporting a total of 500 farmers from the states with a sum of 100,000 naira each, along with inputs for poultry and crop farming, as well as capacity building.
And also, NALDA will engage off-takers. It's not going to be a one-off program.
Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma, who joined his wife in applauding the First Lady on behalf of women in the Southeast, described the struggle to achieve food security as a collective effort.
I would therefore want to encourage the wives of the governors of Southeast to please take this baton from the First Lady of Nigeria and trickle it down to local governments.
It is our firm belief that by empowering women, we are not only uplifting individual lives, but also transforming communities and society as a whole.
The social investment component of Renewed Hope Initiative was also activated during the visit, as the First Lady empowered 100 physically challenged persons with a grant of 100,000 naira each. From Owerri in Imo State, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
We've got Musa Abubakar right here to deal with the numbers. Musa, what's the latest?
Well, let's find out.
Well, let's begin with the Apex Bank. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says it planned to use technology to reform the operations of the foreign exchange market, as well as ensure surveillance and monitoring is put in place to guide activities of the market.
We are hoping that by the time this exercise is finished, by the time the guidelines come up, we proposed that for certain categories of BDCs, which are the categories in a particular location, the share capital, minimum share capital, will be ₦500 million. And for those who choose to work throughout the country, their share capital is proposed at ₦2 billion. We are also putting strict regulations as to who should be a potential owner of a BDC. In other words, we don't expect it to be an all-comers affair.
To capital market equities, market extended negative run to Wednesday's trading session. The all-share index closed at 100,582.89 basis points. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 396 million shares in 10,549 deals, corresponding to a market value of 5.8 billion naira, were traded. Today's trading data shows 41% improvement in volume, 5% decline in turnover, but 15% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 54.3 trillion naira. The financial services industry dominated the activity chart at the end of the session. That's a quick look at business news. Ienre, is back to you.
Well, thanks, Musa, for informing me. But let me also tell you that Jigawa State government is taking steps to maintain its position as the largest producer of purple hibiscus in the country, as it partners private organizations to improve quality standard for export. Muhammad Musa Askira reports that the partnership was concretized at the state's Maigatari Free Trade Zone, where far-reaching decisions were taken to expand production and marketing of hibiscus.
For years, Jigawa State has led the race of the states in the federation in the production of key economic crops, particularly the purple hibiscus. Given the strategic economic potentials of these crops, the state government is utilizing the state's free trade zone in collaboration with private organizations dealing in hibiscus to expand its export windows to increase its foreign earnings and support its ambitious economic development as articulated in the 12-point agenda. These agri-based development partners are, among other things, working directly with the farmers to improve production and processing while collaborating with the state governments to ensure sustainability for mutual benefits. Governor Umar Namadi, whose quest for activating the economic capabilities of the state leaves nothing to chance, assuring his government's commitments in revitalizing the socio-economic well-being of Jigawa. He noted that his government will continue to partner agri-buyers organizations across the country to unlock the huge economic potentials in hibiscus farming.
The overarching objective is to accelerate the contribution of the agricultural sector to the growth of the state and national economy, attainment of national food security, economic diversification, job creation, and provision of sustainable means of livelihood for our people.
So us as traders that are into this commodity, we want to partner with Jigawa State to ensure that quality is maintained, and therefore consistent supply over a long period of time, and we can keep supplying and getting foreign exchange for the country.
Stakeholders at the event said this partnership is a milestone in the state's struggle to economic independence, noting that in few years to come, Jigawa will be better for it. The Maigatari Free Trade Zone remains a key economic asset to Jigawa State, holding a huge economic opportunities not only to the Jigawa State government but to Nigeria and the development partners. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Elsewhere, OPEC Secretary General Haitham Ogai says the narrative about energy transition must be channeled towards a just transition and not a one-size-fits-all, as fossil fuel will continue to be part of the energy mix. Leading an international panel discussion at the Nigerian International Energy Summit in Abuja, the Secretary General was clear that all shades of opinion must be considered. Lydia Samson feeds us.
Moderated by Professor Emmanuel Ibekachuku, the brain behind the Nigeria International Energy Summit 7 years ago, the panel discussion focused on navigating the new energy world order, security, transition, and finance. The panelists agreed that the current realities are daunting, with intensive campaigns against investment in fossil fuel.
Key players like Nigeria and our other African producers, along with others, is to bring about the adequate stability that's required in the market for investors such as the IOCs, the NOCs, everybody in the industry to be able to find a stable environment.
We produce and sell or export outside of Africa 75% of the oil that we produce. Yet, our continent has the largest proportion of its population living in energy poverty.
They believe that navigating visible challenges to getting the right mix is the solution.
Our opportunity set needs to be attractive. And one of the focus areas for this administration is to ensure that the government doesn't stay in the business of investing capital in a sector that can easily attract private sector capital if we're able to make sure that the opportunity sets are just as attractive and rank high in global portfolios of investors.
By delving into crucial aspects of mitigating sustainable energy development, it is expected that attendees will leave the summit equipped with knowledge and perspectives that will empower them to contribute effectively to the global energy transition, enhance energy security, and navigate the financial landscape in the emerging world order. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
And in the Center of Excellence, the Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has conducted a test run of the 37-kilometer Red Line Rail Mass Transit train while inspecting its rail corridors for the last time ahead of presidential inauguration on February 29. Ese Onwamaka reports.
In an effort to make the infrastructure ready for its official opening by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on February 29, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu alongside his cabinet embarked on a train ride between Ikeja Mega Station and Agbado Station, traversing Agege and Iju stations along the way. While on board, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu moved along the train coaches in a bid to certify the conditions of the Red Line Rail Mass Transit trains facilities.
Challenge around pedestrian on the track, and the kind of wrong things we saw, on those tracks. So you've seen that we continue to do the enforcement. We will continue to do fiscal barricades on those lines, working with NRC. But the message here is really for our citizens and people that are living virtually on the track, that a track is not a place of residence. It's not a place of commercial activity. And we should continue to encourage people to stay off it. We will continue to enforce it. In fact, we'll continue to ensure that we clear the tracks because we do not want to record any form of fatality.
The 37-kilometer Red Line Rail is proposed to run from Agbado to Marina with 13 stations along the way. In Lagos, Ese Onwamaka, NT News.
Meanwhile, if the ongoing Lagos-Kano Railway Modernization project is to achieve significant progress and ensure timely completion, the communities around the corridors must take ownership of the project. This was the view of the engineer supervising the project, Ghazali Baba Fugo, who solicits the support of security and community leaders against the backdrop of recent activities of vandals who were found to be disturbing the progress of the work. Awal Salisu reports.
The Lagos-Kano Standard Gauge Railway project is designed by the federal government to ease transportation and be a game changer that will promote ease of doing business to achieve economic growth. So far, The Kaduna-Kano sections of the project has recorded a significant progress as the lane of track is now at about 40% completion level. However, one of the major impediments that hinders the progress of this project is vandalization along the corridors. Of recent, rail fasteners of about 50 meters comprising inner and outer cliffs were vandalized along Kwankwaso-Chalawa axis in Kano State.
These vandals have used their tools to remove up to like 10,000 pieces of this cliff that is so dangerous to the rail operation whenever it starts. So we are appealing to the federal government in conjunction with the security to just mount a security in all the activities before handing over to Nigeria Railway Corporation.
As this one is removed, it will cause buckling. The alignment will be disturbed. A train, if it buckles, the train can derail and even capsize.
4 people have recently been arrested in connection with the theft. With improved security and support of community leaders, this project will be delivered within the stipulated time. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
In the same vein, the Federal Road Safety Corps is collaborating with state judiciaries for proper prosecution of road traffic offenders in order to ensure not just safety on the roads, but sanity as well. Corps Marshal FRSC Dauda Abu made this known at a Corps Marshal's Operational Strategic and Tactical session with high commands in Abuja. Oyeyemi Ajayi reports.
The strategic session is with the purpose of reviewing the general performance of the Corps in the previous year and chart a better course for 2024. The searchlight now is beamed on traffic light offenders as well as trucks carrying animals, goods and humans, which is said to be the major contributor to road traffic crashes. This time around, the Corps will be implementing the homegrown initiatives in tackling road traffic crashes.
It's not necessarily targeted at punishing the driver at that point by giving him a ticket or a penalty, but those things we do are enough inconveniences for the drivers and the passengers so that going forward, they on their own will not overload their vehicles, and then the passengers also will not accept to be overloaded in a vehicle.
Knocking down of the Corps operatives will not be tolerated, as the Corps has collaborated with security agencies to protect officers, while admonishing the public to continue to observe traffic rules on their journeys. However, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, has approved the appointment of the Assistant Corps Marshal, Mohammed Kaigama Kabo, to the rank of Deputy Corps Marshal to represent the Northeast Geopolitical Zone. He also approved the promotion of 818 other senior, immediate and junior officers. Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Now time for commercials to breathe. Stay with us. Welcome back. It is no longer new to say that Nigerians are being faced with various challenges concerning the country's electricity supply. But to tell you that this will be history is where the story lies. Now, this is as a result of the federal government's intervention to ensure a standard complaints resolution platform in line with the country's Electricity Act under the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Muazu Hassan reports.
Illegal disconnection of electricity, not having a functional meter, and failure to fix a faulty transformer or other electricity equipment are some of the challenges faced by consumers in Nigeria. This gathering of stakeholders is aimed at protecting the consumer's right to receive electricity in a safe and reliable manner.
My complaint has been resolved. I wanted to go to High Court. I was informed of this platform, and I came and they resolved the matter. I am so happy.
Had issues of light, and then I did not know how to go about it to have it resolved. But with the aid of this seminar now, I know that, okay, there are certain channels and processes I can follow.
With the coming of this FCC, PC, at least most of us realize our right now. We are able to know how to go on with our complaint.
Attending this program is very interesting to me. Why? Because I have learned a lot. The aim of this program is how to tackle the problem of light.
The target of this stop shop is enhancement of electricity services for optimal result.
This intervention of the FCCPC is because our mandate is to protect the interests of consumers. So therefore, consumers' electricity services have come and reported to us that they are not satisfied with the services, so we decide to intervene. We go all over the country, do these town halls, and try to resolve the issues.
The electricity consumers are optimistic that this federal government's provision will better their hope. In Bauchi, Moaz Hassan, NTA News.
Meanwhile, electricity supply to Abuja has dropped with 250 megawatts following vandalization of transmission tower along Gwagwalada-Kantakwe line. In a statement, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, says the incident resulted to a trip-off at Gwagwalada's transmission substation and trial reclosure by TCN operators failed. Already, TCN says it has commenced emergency repair of the damaged tower and its associated equipment. TCN reiterates the need for vigilance in the fight against the vandalism of power infrastructure by reporting suspicious movements around power equipment to security operatives or to the nearest TCN offices nationwide. Another break is due. Remain tuned. Good to have you back. Honoring an invitation by His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will depart Lagos State to embark on a two-day official visit to the state of Qatar on Thursday, February 29, 2024, to further strengthen cooperation between the two nations in several areas, including security, cultural exchange, and economic development. During the visit, President Tinubu will witness the signing of several agreements focused on boosting Nigeria's real sector and creating value-additive investments across the fields of trade, education, culture, solid minerals, digital economy, agriculture, and gas, as well as fostering cooperation on counter-terrorism. The President will also participate in a business and investment forum that will bring together top-level executives in both the private and public sectors of Nigeria and Qatar to advance cross-sectoral opportunities for mutually beneficial growth and development. Meanwhile, the Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Dr. Jamie Christoph, has emphasized the need to partner with Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NITCOM, for a mutual beneficial partnership and collaboration with regards to migration management between the two countries. Christoph mentioned that his team is ready to support the Commission with opportunities, time and expertise to achieve a better managed migration. Chairman NITCOM, Abike Dabiri-Arewa, while receiving the delegation, expressed her appreciation for the visit and the offer of partnerships, revealing some ongoing projects of the Commission with the Nigerian diasporas in Canada. Dabiri-Arewa added that the Commission, with the support of a council in Canada, is working on a Canada Pull Factor as a pilot project to harmonize the data of Nigerians in Canada in line with the Diaspora Data Mapping Portal. Looking at other stories now, the media is a double-edged sword that could be utilized in sustaining national security and socio-economic development of Nigeria. This dominated discussions by stakeholders, including the Director General, NTA, Salihu Abdul Hamid Dembus, at the maiden international conference of the Mass Communication Department of the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Haruna Muhammad reports.
It is a gathering of erudite scholars, the media and security operatives, including the campus young minds. What brought them together is the maiden edition of the International Conference of the Department of Mass Communication, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. On the table for deliberation is communication, media, insecurity, and development issues, with review of challenges and questions regarding the way forward.
This conference is timely in view of the strategic role media plays in promoting national security and socio-economic development of Nigeria.
As guardians of truth and transparency, it is our responsibility to confront these challenges through rigorous, credible information generation, empirical analysis, fact-checking, responsible reporting, and fostering constructive dialogue with our audiences.
The armed forces need the support of the local people if they are to effectively degrade criminal elements in our society.
Using empirical terms, the lead presenter outlined SWAT to propel transparency and dispel misinformation amid security challenges which retards development.
For many years running, the global perception of peace about the country has been dropping on the World Peace Index. Not that Nigeria wants it.
The media is important in the populace understanding the challenges faced by the armed forces, thereby influencing their support, which is critical for governance and sustenance of troops' morals.
We define who we are, and also we know, we learn the techniques, of communication and also dissemination of information.
Discussants agree confronting security challenges as well as shaping the society for development require deliberate collaboration of the media, public, as well as the academia with the security operatives that will serve as a beacon of hope for a brighter future. From Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, I am Haruna Mohammed, NTA News.
Let's take a trip to Borno State now, where the government has flagged off distribution of food palliative to 100,000 vulnerable families within Maiduguri Metropolitan Council and environs. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum supervised the distribution at El Kanemi Warriors Sports Center, Maiduguri. Mohammed Goni is our guide.
Palliative distribution in Borno is as old as Governor Zulum administration, as the prolonged period of insurgency denied access to farmland and other means of livelihood in most communities, hence the continued distribution of food and non-food palliative periodically. The 100,000 vulnerable families in Maiduguri Metropolitan Council and environs are the latest beneficiaries in line with efforts to cushion the effect of hike in cost of living, especially as the Ramadan fast is around the corner. The beneficiaries have appreciated Governor Zulum for his continued support to the vulnerable in the society, saying the gesture is timely.
Mun yi farin ciki da wannan kyauta da wannan bawan Allah ya mana, Allah ya ɗaukaka shi, Allah ya kada hau, Ubangiji ya ƙara arziki da dare.
Governor Babagana Umar Zulum says that continued palliative distribution to citizens is done without discrimination on the basis of ethnicity or religion. He called on the citizens to key into agricultural policy of the state government to enhance food production and to promote self-reliance.
What we need is to invest in commercial agriculture. What we need is to invest in subsistence agriculture. The federal government has recently rolled out farming program under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. This is what we call medium and longer term sustainable solution.
The governor used the opportunity to call on Borno citizens to bear with both the state and the federal government as efforts are being made to ameliorate the hardship. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
Let's take a break again. Stay with us. Let's take a look at some stories in the sports world.
Delegates from different African countries are in Abuja for a week-long annual congress of the Organization of Military Sports in Africa, which focuses on fostering unity in Africa through sports. The upcoming African Military Games in Abuja and the re-election of Nigerian Major General Mekano Abdullahi as the president are also top on the agenda at the meeting, which was declared open by Minister of Defense Mohammed Badaru Abubakar.
Avenues such as this General Assembly needs to be continuously created to facilitate mutual interaction among personnel. We are going to have a week-long fruitful discussion and programs that will move the organization forward.
Suleiman gets away from his marker, sits him down. Sonny!
Despite losing 2-0 to Sunshine Stars of Akure in the match day 22 of the Nigerian Professional Football League, Lobby Stars of Makurdi still remain top of the table with 39 points. In other results of the matches played, Bayelsa United beat Doma United 2-0 as Rangers overcame Remo Stars by a lone goal at Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, Enugu. Plateau United dominated Heartland at home 5-1, while Katsina United were the better side at home against Kano Pillars 3-2. Similarly, after missing so many major competitions and games in the past, Nigerian referees staged a return with the inclusion of Bashir Salisu in the list of match referees that will officiate football events of the All-African Games in Ghana. The football body made official the list of the selected referees, and one Nigerian official made the list consisting of 24 referees and 24 assistant referees. And finally, to athletics, as some home-based athletes in camp in Abuja say, they are ready and looking forward to making the country proud by making podium finishes at the All-African Games.
It's a kind of determination, so we don't have to depend on what is being provided to us, so we have to improvise and do our best. So with what is on ground, I think we are good to go.
What we are just doing now is just the final phase for us to be able to get all the medals in the African Games.
The athletes who have been in camp in Abuja are expected to be joined by their foreign-based counterpart in Ghana for the Games. In Abuja, Oche Ngbedi, NTA News.
And that wraps up News Extra tonight. Trust you enjoyed the extra. Many thanks for being extraordinary. Have a good night.